CM 365, all about Carnatic music. In one of my earlier episodes, I had made a mention about Gamakas and their role in our Indian classical music system. And one Rasika has written to me asking me to make a more detailed explanation about this concept. Well, it does deserve a elaborate kind of a exposition because of the fact that in Indian classical music we see that whether it is Hindustani music or Carnatic music, the Gamakas are actually the soul of our Indian classical music. And it is the Gamakas which determine the melodic character of the ragam. In Indian music, every note is embellished, and that is where the beauty lies, where though we may allot a particular sthana for each note technically, but when they come into the mold of the ragam, we see that with the kind of gamakas that go into it, they attain a distinct color and beauty. For example, even when we are singing Mayamala Gaula, when we are teaching it to the student, we say that though it is like sa ri ga ma pa da ni sa, that is the sthana of the notes. But we tell the children that the ri and the dha have to be oscillated like sa ri ga ma pa da ni sa. So even in the beginning stage, we try to show them how the gamaka is very important to the whole music system. Coming to the Natya Shastra of Bharata, where in the 29th chapter he makes a beautiful account of the importance of alankaras. Alankara could be somewhat equated to the gamaka itself. So where he says that the alankara is very, very important to music, and the shloka that he has mentioned here translates like, a song without alankara will be like a night without a moon, a river without water, a creeper without its flowers, and a woman without any ornament. So I think this highlights beautifully how this kind of ornamentation by the alankara is very important for music itself. The alankara may be equated now to our present system like to the gamaka or the grace in the notes. And we could say that due to the gamaka only, every raga gets its color. So thus, though we have Karahara Priya and for example Manirangu and Sri Ragam as its janyas, we see how the Gandhara, though it is Sadharana Gandhara that is employed for all the three, in each, because of the Gamaka factor, they attain a distinct color, and that's why they're also becoming different ragas for that matter. And Gamaka manipulation of a note to give a musical effect, that is the Gamakam, is what which gives the musical effect to the ragam. And interestingly also we see that though there are basically 10 Gamakas, some of the Gamakas are very typical to vocal music and some to instrumental music also. And Parsva in the Sangeetha Samayasara, he makes mention of the Gamakas and says that when a note produces the color of Shrutis other than those which are of its own, it is known as Gamaka. Now, this is a very interesting and valid kind of a definition, I would say, where, like, for example, even in Mayala Gaula, we see that sa, ri, that is the exact sthana. But now, it is going to take some shrutis which is not there in that particular sthana but moves from there, like sa, ri, or if like, for example, in Ananda Bhairavi, pada pa sa, the glide from the pa to sa. So different types of gamakas are there, but what he means is that when a note produces the color of shruti other than those which are of its own, then what happens? We call it a gamakam, and this is what is he is trying to explain to us here. Then Bharata speaks of various graces in music, and Matanga in his Brihaddeshi is one of probably the earliest to use the term gamaka in his definition of the ragam. He makes use of the word gamaka. Now, the Nanya Deva in commentary on the Natya Shastra, as well as Parsva Deva in his Sangeetha Samayasara, and Haripala in his Sangeetha Sudhakara actually makes a mention of 7 types of Gamakas. Then later on, we see that Narada in the Sangeetha Makaranda, he makes a mention of 19 kinds of Gamakas. Sarangadeva then makes a mention of 15 Gamakas. So like this, there have been different treatises mentioning different numbers of Gamakas, and there has also been a lot of difference in terms of how many Gamakas are there. But finally, after a point of time, they have arrived at the concept of the Dasavidha Gamakas, or the 10 kinds of Gamakas which are prevalent in our Carnatic music system. And there is also a slokam here which clearly indicates what are these 10 types of Gamakams. That is, Arohanam Avaronam cha Dhalu Spurita Kampita Ahatya Pratyahatcha Tripuschandola Murchanaha, where you see that the 10 type of Gamakas, if you decode this sloka, you will see Arohana, Avarohana, Dhalu, Spurita, Kampita, Ahatya, Pratyahatta, then Tripuscha, Andola, Murchana. So these are the 10 type of Gamakas that have been mentioned. In the subsequent episodes, we will look into each of these Gamakas and see what is actually meant by each of them.
CM 365, all about Carnatic music.